Hi, this is Don Forsyth. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. Our topic is group formation. We already discussed joining groups, some of the individual difference factors that influence whether or not a person will seek out membership in a group, focusing mostly on personality characteristics, attachment style, previous experiences in groups. This topic is affiliation. The idea that human beings are affiliative animals. We are gregarious by nature, but we seek out other people in certain situations more so than in others. And the three topics we'll discuss are social comparison, stress, and the rather unique problems associated with joining with people who are outperforming us, and the opportunities for upward and downward social comparison that groups provide us. Affiliation and social comparison, first topic. And we'll begin with Leon Festinger's 1954 statement of social comparison theory. Although it might surprise you that prior to developing his famous theory of cognitive dissonance, in which sparked the cognitive revolution, in fact, in social psychology, Leon Festinger was a groups researcher, having studied with Kurt Lewin. And one of his better known theories examined the reason why we seek out membership in groups is so we can compare ourselves to others. In many situations, confusing situations, we don't understand the demands being put upon us. We don't understand the nature of the situation. We don't even know what we're supposed to do. In such situations, we look to other people's responses and gain information from them. That process is known as social comparison. It reduces our negative emotions, it reduces our uncertainty, it meets our need for information, and that's why we affiliate, for cognitive clarity. Festinger, in his original social comparison theory, strongly stressed the basic motive underlying social comparison was the need for information, to understand. Subsequent studies looked at a second reason why we affiliate, which is not just to understand the situation, but to feel less perhaps frightened by the situation, to meet our emotional needs as well as our cognitive needs. And that possibility is best illustrated by Stanley Schachter's studies of affiliation, where he investigated the process by which people seek out membership in a group when they face a fear-provoking situation, one which causes anxiety. Here's a very, very short introductory clip from his classic study involving this process.
Okay, that'll be enough for now. You can fill out the rest of those questionnaires later. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Gregor Zilstein of the Medical School's Departments of Neurology and Psychiatry. I've asked you here today in order to serve as subjects in an experiment concerned with the effects of electric shock.
As you can probably tell, that was not an actual study where electric shocks were administered to people. What Schachter wanted to know was how people responded to the frightening circumstances he created. He gave the participants the opportunity to wait either alone or with others. And what he found that when you face a frightening situation involving electric shock, compared to a non-frightening situation, the shock would be barely perceptible and wouldn't be painful whatsoever. Individuals preferred to wait with others rather than alone. And that's often summarized with the phrase, misery loves company, in the sense that you want to be with others when you're frightened, when you're emotionally aroused. In subsequent work, he modified this slightly, sometimes expressed as misery loves miserable company. And this is just the idea that we don't want to just wait with anyone. We want to wait with people who are knowledgeable about the situation and who possibly can help us reduce our own anxiety. For example, we wouldn't want to wait with someone who is waiting for another study, who doesn't know anything about the electric shock, who has no ideas about whether or not it will be painful. In fact, we would prefer to meet with somebody who's already been in the study and will be able to give us reassuring information about the situation we're about to encounter. Schachter himself didn't have people meet together, and so he wasn't able to confirm whether or not people seek out information when they affiliate. But Morris and his colleagues did exactly that. They set up 3 different situations. One provoked fear, again, the fear of electric shock. One provoked embarrassment as the primary fear, in which participants were likely going to have to discuss sexual behavior in a very ambiguous situation. He watched what people did prior to the start of the study, and what you found that in fear-provoking situations they interacted a good deal more than they did in embarrassing situations and ambiguous situations. So they sought out information from others. In ambiguous situations, they tried to escape this situation. And withdrawal was the primary response after non-reaction in an embarrassing situation, confirming Schachter's basic idea that people do affiliate to seek out information to reduce their fear. Another way to look at this is in terms of stress management. As we know, in stressful situations, the response is typically between fight and flight. And although we often think about at the individual level, the need to escape, the need to counter the threat aggressively, this can also be examined at the group level. Groups provide the means to deal with the danger, the collective means to deal with it. They also might help an individual escape the situation as others provide help. And that would be for an imminent threat. If the threat is long-term, the reaction might not be fight or flight, but tend and befriend. This distinction was raised by Shelley Taylor in her work, where she points out that oftentimes, yes, in stressful circumstances, we will fight against it, we will take flight, but a more interpersonal approach is often warranted as well, where we will provide help to others, tend others, and also seek to enlarge or strengthen our social networks, befriend. And groups provide opportunities for individuals to do just that. In a group, you can seek social support and provide it, and you can also increase the size of your group, strengthen your intermember relations when you seek a long-term threat. The kinds of social support people provide each other, the list varies depending upon the theorist, but 5 basic ones are belonging, emotional support, informational support. Emotional support, of course, would be from Schachter's research, Festinger's original theory. Informational support. Instrumental support is actual help given to individuals, so going beyond just giving a person, say, a shoulder to cry on, or being a good listener for the person, actually assisting them deal with the problems they face. And many religious groups, of course, provide their members with spiritual support when they face a crisis. The third topic I'd like to discuss very briefly is the application of social comparison to self-esteem. Researchers have found that oftentimes social comparison is not unbiased. That people in an attempt to elevate their self-esteem prefer different targets for social comparison. Downward social comparison occurs when people compare themselves to those who are performing not as well as they are, more poorly. Upward social comparison occurs when people compare themselves to people who are excelling, outperforming them. Example might be a student who takes an examination and gets the score back and gets an 87 out of 100 on the test. Who do you wish to compare yourself to? Do you want to compare yourself to the person next to you who got a 77 on the test, who did 10 points worse than you did? That would be downward social comparison. Or perhaps you want to compare yourself to someone else who set the curve for the class, who got 100 on the test, or at least a very high A on the test. Comparing yourself to a person who's doing more poorly may boost your self-esteem. Comparing yourself to who did better than you are may motivate you to work harder. It demonstrates that better grade is possible. Someone else got such a better grade. You can think that you can improve your grade by comparing yourself to somebody who has outperformed you. Upward social comparison. One of the most elegant theoretical analyses of the tension between upward and downward social comparison is Abe Tesser's self-evaluation maintenance model, in which he suggests that both processes are important for maintaining self-esteem. For example, in one study, he asked people to evaluate their own performance compared to a friend and compared to a person who they did not know well. So here's ratings of yourself, ratings of your friend's performance, and ratings of someone you do not know well. When you're rating another person who you don't know well, your ratings tended to be fairly low in both conditions. What are those conditions? Well, in the high relevance, it's a task that's very important to yourself. In the low relevance, it's a task that's not that important to you. What might be the example? Well, you're taking different classes, maybe perhaps with your roommate. You're taking a group dynamics class, which is fundamentally important to your sense of self. You love group dynamics and you really want to get wonderful grades in group dynamics. And you're also taking a class in biology, for example, and you don't really care about biology. It's a required class, and you'll be comfortable just getting through class at the end of the semester. It's not that important to you. So in this case, the biology class is of low relevance to yourself. The group dynamic class is of high relevance to yourself. So how are you doing in the class? Well, you tend to think of yourself as outperforming your friend if it's a highly relevant task. And certainly, you both outperform this person you do not know well. If the task isn't that important, you're completely comfortable engaging in upward social comparison. This would be downward. This would be upward. So for biology, you're happy to say that your friend is outperforming you on the biology test. And in that way, it's not a threat to your self-esteem. And in fact, your self-esteem may gain because you can bask in the reflected glory of your friend's performance and thereby increase your self-esteem. So as this particular study demonstrates, people engage in both upward and downward social comparison. Downward social comparison is more likely when people are getting feedback about tasks which are very important to their sense of self. Upward social comparison is more likely when people are getting feedback about tasks which aren't so important to their sense of self. Our final topic in the analysis of group formation will be interpersonal attraction. Who likes who? We'll do that next time. In the meantime, thank you for joining me. Have a good day.